the big boys of the world really need to step in now. I mean, what we are seeing in this escalation in Gaza, we are seeing the response to the escalation. And obviously, proportionally, is minuscule. We saw Tel Aviv receive a drone attack on behalf of Yemeni Houthi fighters. And even though this is completely, minuscule compared to what's happening in Gaza, this is only going to escalate. You see, the disproportionate, the genocidal onslaught on the Gazan people is making Israel's government and even Israel as a state untenable, insofar that it's built on a system of ethnic supremacy. And it's untenable with human rights. And people are getting grips with this reality that, more and more people are realizing it. And unfortunately, the right wing of the West are taking hold of this in some parts, even though for the most part, the Nigel Farages, the Marine Le Pens of the world are very much pro-Israel, which really, is pretty self-explanatory. Israel will support the far right of Western countries because, of course, the far right have a similar internal logic, which is about maintaining some form of ethnic supremacy over what they consider the so-called other. So the internal logic, the rationale of, let's say, even the Third Reich is consistent. This is why in the prior to the formation of Israel, even post that, you had the military groups like the Lehi, which have been incorporated into the IDF since then, that actually believed in a similar in a partnership with National Socialists in Germany, because they believed in the worldview of maintaining a nation state based on ethnic lines, maintaining ethnic dominance and supremacy for the sake of protecting one's own tribe. And what we're seeing right now, the attack on Tel Aviv, the constant barrage of violence on Palestinians requires big boys to step in. And when I'm talking big boys, I'm not talking about US fueling more and more of these attacks on the Gazan population, more and more regional wars with Yemen, with Iran. What they're not, really taking home the point is that this is an untenable situation, and only so much you can gaslight the population, only so much you can gaslight the Middle East, because it's going to be continuous. The resistance can be continuous because it's a facet of the indomitable will of the human spirit to defy, to resist the oppressor, to resist what to a lot of people see, and anyone with basic common sense and empathy, are the evildoers. Relatively speaking, obviously I'm not a fan of what Hamas did. I'm not a fan of a lot of their strategies, but Hamas is merely a scapegoat by which you can just punish the entire population. You can just hear it from the officials in Israel themselves. They do not make a distinction between Hamas and Palestinians. This is by design. They want ethnic supremacy of the land so that there is no resistance, no threat to their stability. But this also means, just as what happened in Third Reich, there was a security apparatus to defend the German people. What did they do? They eliminated millions and millions of people to maintain this idealism of maintaining an ethno-state. This is the end result of this evil ideology of maintaining ethnic supremacy. And innocents in Tel Aviv, unfortunately, have been unalived. Now, a lot of people will say there's no innocence in Israel. I would like to separate the system itself from the people. Just as, one of my favorite, somebody who's inspired me, the late Michael Brooks, said, be ruthless with systems, be kind with people. And so And it's really important as progressives we do this. We don't, cast everyone who's born into that area into the same light, even though, vast majority of people will enter into the IDF and commit atrocities potentially. And it seems to be the case, vast majority of them do. There are people who resist this, but this is kind of a continuation of the human tragedy. European discrimination against Jews over millennia. Let's not forget the Edict of Expulsion in 1490, or rather 1290, one of those dates, where King Edward I kicked out the Jews in order to gain favour with the people so that he could increase taxes on the people, since he was having issues with debt. It is a populist populist move by him, which gained a lot of the approval of the people. Because, of course, unfortunately, unless people are well educated, unless people have basic empathy skills, people resort to the lowest common denominator, which is discrimination and scapegoating against the so-called other, when ultimately we are all the same. We are all one. But until we realize that, until we have big boys wearing the big pants, this is going to escalate, and we're going to see a wider regional war between Israel and Iran. I predict by the end of next year, we're going to see a much bigger situation unfold, because you got Trump and Biden. Of course, Biden may be replaced, but whoever is in power in the US will be supporting Israel. AIPAC have a 100% track record with supporting people who have subsequently succeeded their primaries. In other words, whoever has the funding receives the spot of power. And it so happens, because of our capitalistic system, anyone who receives you can predict winners based on how much funding they have relative to the competition. And AIPAC have a lot of money to spend. This is unfortunate, because this is idealism in a nutshell. You have this notion of a nation state, of maintaining an ethno state where you want to maintain security, but at the expense of what? Of humanity. And obviously Hamas, when it's used by Sam Harris or Bill Maher, they talk about theological issues, theological underpinnings, and the disagreement between Palestinians and Israel. It's not this is a complete lie. It's gaslighting. The issue is ethnic supremacy, and they will not see past this. Whatever people consider about them intellectually, they have a complete blind spot when it comes to considering Palestinians as human beings. People are people first, before that whatever religion they've been born into, because they're using their religion and the association with Hamas as a justification to destroy the hell out of the entire population. Anyways, this is not good news, but I'll be talking on this in the future. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That'd be very much appreciated. Thank you.